Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. I hope you all are well and doing great. So today I'm back with another video to continue our questions that we have started in the last videos. We have completed our 28 questions of section 2 of verbal reasoning. Now we're going to continue it from question number 29, which is, in a year in which there is increased coffee bean production, it is likely that option A, the world price goes up and fair trade growers benefit. Option B, the world price goes down and fair trade growers benefit. Option C, the world price goes up and fair trade growers lose out. Option D, the world's price goes down and fair trade growers lose out. So here we have these passages. You can take a look at these one and find out your answer by choosing some keywords from the statement that is given to you in the form of a question. You can see that which keyword is in which paragraph or passage, then you can find out your answer. So here we have option D is correct because the end of the first paragraph says there is a minimum price when the world market is oversupplied and 10 C per LB extra at other times. Increased coffee bean production means that the world market will be oversupplied. Therefore, fair trade growers would only receive their minimum price and not the 10 C per LB extra. So that's why we have option D, which is the world price goes down and fair trade growers lose out, is the right option for this statement. Okay. Next we have that which of the following statements is best supported by information contained in the passage. Option A, retailers in the UK always put a fair price on fair trade coffee. On option B, the fair trade mark put some customers off. Option C, the fair trade mark is only put on one brand of coffee. Option D, retailers believe that the fair trade mark is liked by their customers. So option D is correct because the second paragraph states that the retailers in well-off countries believe that the branding is worth paying for, as it improves their trading image. Their image would only be improved by something that consumers liked. There is no evidence in the passage for A, B or C. So here we have option D, which is retailers believe that the fair trade mark is liked by their customers is true. Next question, that the fair trade mark is an example of food labeling to indicate option A, a good quality product, Option B, an ethical purchase. Option C, a cheaper product. Option D, a healthy alternative. So again here we have passage in which you can take a look at these paragraphs. So we have option B is correct because the first paragraph says that the label indicates the coffee has to come from a certified fair trade cooperative and there is a minimum price when the world market is oversupplied and 10C per LP extra at overtimes. Consumers believe that this helps the very poor. So we have option B is the correct option, an ethical purchase. The statement was that the fair trade mark is an example of food labeling to indicate an ethical purchase. Next question we have is that question number 32, which is farmers and fair trade cooperatives benefit from the foundation because option A, they can sell all of the crop. Option B, they are insured against bad weather. Option C, they can rely on support in hard times. Option D, they always get a good price for their crop. So the option C is correct because the second paragraph states by encouraging the information of cooperatives, some stability is assured for individual poor farmers. A is incorrect because the last part of the first paragraph indicates that there can be lack of demand. B is incorrect because it is not mentioned in the passage. D is incorrect because the end of paragraph 1 states that they sell only a third of the outputs as fair trade. The rest is at the mercy of the world market. So because of this reason, we have option C is the right option. Okay. So here we have the from passage, teleology can be defined as option A, arguing that all events have a purpose. Option B, using natural selection to explain a vote's mechanism. Option C, arguing that everything happens by chance. Option D, using Newton's laws to predict the future of the universe. Here we have different passage for this question. You can take a look at these ones. So option A is correct because it is supported by the passage in the first paragraph. The teleological argument has been commonly used to prove the existence of a creator or supreme being. So because of this, option A which is arguing that all events have a purpose, is the right option. Next question is that Dawkins' title of this book, The Blind Watchmaker, is appropriate because option A, no watchmaker is blind. Option B, the structure of living things cannot be explained. Option C, a springing being must be blind. Option D, natural selection does not depend on an intelligent designer. So option D is correct because Dawkins has used Paley's analogy to suggest that the maker of his watch could not be blind. Otherwise, the making of the watch would be too difficult or impossible. And also that natural selection is blind in the sense that it does not operate towards a final goal. So this is the reason because of which option D, which is natural selection does not depend on an intelligent designer, is the correct option for this statement. Okay. Next we have question number 35, which is Dawkins' title of his book, The Blind Watchmaker, is appropriate because option A, no watchmaker is blind. Option B, the structure of living things cannot be explained. Option C, a supreme being must be blind. Option D, natural selection does not depend on an intelligent designer. So here we have these four options. You can use Dawkins' title of his book and the blind watchmaker as your keywords to find your answers from these given passages. Here you can take a look at these passages. So here we have option D is correct because Dawkins has used Paley's analogy to suggest that the maker of his watch could not be blind. Otherwise, the making of the watch would be too difficult or impossible. And also that natural selection is blind in the sense that it does not operate towards a final goal. So this one is the correct option, which is option D, that natural selection does not depend on an intelligent designer. So let's move towards the next question, which is question number 35. Which of these assertions is best supported by information contained in the passage? Option A, natural selection depends on a hidden designer. Option B, natural selection depends on chance events. Option C, the operation of the universe does not depend on hidden rules. Option D, the universe has been carefully planned. So we have the four options and we have the same passages for these questions also. And the correct option is option B, because it is supported by the passage in the theory of Charles Darwin. Theory of natural selection as an explanation for the variety and complexity of living organisms. This did not presuppose a hidden designer. Therefore, events are not planned, they occur by chance. So here we have option B, which is natural selection depends on chance event, is the right option. Next we have using the information in the passage. Belief in the existence of a supreme being is option A, justified because humans have a purpose. Option B, not justified because of evolution. Option C, not possible to explain using design theories. Option D, possible to contradict using scientific theories. So with the same passages given, we have that statement to complete from the answer. So option D is correct because the belief in the existence of a supreme being as supposed by the teleological argument in the first paragraph is possible to contradict using Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection in the second paragraph. So option D, which is possible to contradict using scientific theories, is the right option. Next we have question number 37. It says the Geneva Conventions are designed to, option A, establish the human rights of military personnel in battle. Option B, protect civilians against all actions of their governments. Option C, protect civilians caught up in battle areas. Option D, prevent civilians taking up arms in wartime. Now we have a different paragraph, or you can say a passage for this question. So option C is correct because the author states in the second paragraph that they protect civilians caught up in the zone of war. So we have option C, which is protect civilians caught up in battle areas, is the right option. So the Geneva Conventions are designed to protect civilians caught up in battle areas, is a complete statement. One conclusion that can be drawn from the passage is that option A, Humans will always fight one another. Option B. There were no humanitarian conventions before 1949. Option C. There is no justification for the conflict in Afghanistan. Option D. Civilians in civil wars have no legal rights. Now, option A is correct because the first line of the passage states that humans have fought each other since the dawn of civilization. It also states in the first paragraph that aggression may be a part of human nature. So it is fair to assume that this will always continue to be the case. So option A, which says that humans will always fight one another, is the correct option. So this one is the conclusion that we can be drawn from the passage. According to the passage, the writer most probably agrees that option A, the Geneva Conventions are ineffective. Option B, the mass bombing of cities in wartime is an international crime. Option C, there will be fewer wars in the future. Option D, developments in technology will prevent wars. So option B is correct because the bombing and intimidation that is mentioned in the second paragraph goes against the Geneva Conventions, purpose to protect civilians caught up in zone of war. Given that the Geneva Conventions are still considered the cornerstone of contemporary international humanitarian law, it is likely that the writer agreed that mass bombing of cities in wartime is an international crime. So here we have option B is correct, which says that the mass bombing of cities in wartime is an international crime. Okay, next we have that the use of armed drone aircraft controlled by far distant operators could be unethical because option A, there is a risk of injury to civilians. Option B, operator may not be a soldier. Option C, terrorists are protected by international law. Option D, the operators can only view through a remote camera. So here we have the same passage from which you can draw your answers that are given in the four options. So option A is correct because an act that causes harm to people or the environment is considered unethical. The third paragraph states that drones are used to attack soldiers or terrorists who travel or live in civilian areas. It is logical that far distant operators may not be as accurate in the control of the armed drone aircraft and could cause injury to civilians. So here we have option A is the right option. So the use of armed drone aircraft controlled by far distant operators could be unethical because there is a risk of injury to civilians. Now, according to the passage, the modern use of crystals as an aid to being healthy is based on all of the following except option A. Stories told over the centuries up to the present time. Option B. Scientists working to discover cures in the past. Option C. Thinkers on what disease meant in people's lives. Option D. Verifiable tests confirming the efficacy of their use. So now with this question we have a different passage in which you can use the keywords to find your answers that are given in the four options. So we have option D is correct because paragraph 5 states that claims that crystals can cure illnesses or improve health has never been verified by proper scientific tests. So the option D, which says verifiable tests confirming the efficacy of the use, is the correct option. According to the author, the sellers of crystals say their products can option A, increase your reasoning power. Option B, improve your quality of life. Option C, make you more physically attractive. Option D, deepen your religious beliefs. So option B is correct because paragraph 2 describes advertisements as tools for self-optimization and a perfect lifestyle. So improve your quality of life is the correct option for the statement that is, according to the author, the sellers of crystals say their product can improve your quality of life. Which of the following words best describes the author's view of the sale and use of crystals? So option A, condescending. Option B, angry. Option C, contemptuous. Option D, puzzled. The option C is correct because the author uses many words and phrases to convey this view. For example, in paragraph 2, co-opted, pressure, and thought are used. And in paragraph 5, it sounds like nonsense is used. So we have the option C, which is contemptuous, as the correct option. So contemptuous is the word that best describes the author's view of the sale and use of crystals. The author of the passage thinks that crystal sellers, option A, avoid being too precise in their claims. Option B, really believe their products work. Option C, are really carrying out an illegal activity. Option D, try to encourage addictive behavior. So option A is correct because in paragraph 2, the author uses the word vaguely to describe some claims for crystals, and in paragraph 4, it's a wonderful use of the passive voice. In fact, all of paragraph 4 is put over to debunk the lack of clarity of the sales pitch in paragraph 3. So because of this reason, have option A is correct. So it's like the author of the passage thinks the crystal sellers avoid being too precise in their claims. So here we have completed our section 2 also. As I have already told you about this, that verbal reasoning have 4 sections. Now we're going to continue it from section 3. Some of the instruction it has: you are presented with passages of text, each associated with 4 questions. There are 2 different types in this subtest. Option A, a question or incomplete statement with 4 response options where you are required to pick the most suitable response. Option, a question where you must determine on the basis of the information and the passage whether a statement is true, false, or you can't tell. Click the next button to proceed. So here we have this paragraph, or you can say a passage. By reading this, you can find your answers that have been asked in the statements. So what is the most influential factor on water quality for surfers and bodyboarders? regardless of the time of year. Option A, UV treatment of wastewater between October and April. Option B, continual UV treatment of wastewater. Option C, UV treatment of wastewater between May and September. Option D, annual UV treatment of wastewater. Option B is correct because continual UV treatment of wastewater is portrayed as a positive move throughout the text. But particularly in the third paragraph with the statements, unsurprisingly, decisions by some water companies to deactivate UV treatment systems outside the traditional bathing season have been disputed by organizations such as Surfers Against Sewage and the reference to an ongoing campaign to have all year round UV treatment in some cities sites. So option B which says continual UV treatment of wastewater is the correct option for this question. And next we have that according to the passage, the authors most likely agrees that option A, incorrectly treated sewage can triple the chances of illness within surfers. Option B, turning off the UV light emitters makes little effect to water quality out of the bathing season. Option C, the three main illnesses connected with untreated sewage are rarely life-threatening, so should not be considered an issue for surfers. Option D, the UK has so few surfing locations, it does not make sense for the water companies to spend money on UV treatment out of the bathing season. So here we have these passages to conclude or draw your answers from advance. So option A is correct because the first paragraph states several independent studies suggest the risk of becoming ill from water pollution can increase threefold with more frequent immersion and ingestion of water. Option B, C, and D are not mentioned within the text. That's why we have only one option is correct, which is option A, that incorrectly treated sewage can triple the chance of illness within surfers. What conclusion regarding the effective treatment of sewage can be drawn from the passage? Option A, all water companies are doing everything they can to ensure the welfare of frequent water users throughout the year. Option B, water companies do not have the technology to effectively treat all typical pathogens that may cause health issues when introduced back into the sea. Then we have option C. Water companies must comply with Environment Agency directives to maintain all year UV treatment. Option D. Water companies are happy to maintain UV treatment systems out of the bathing season. Option C is correct because the passage examines the actions of the Environment Agency in the third paragraph. The text states that the Environment Agency refused UV deactivation by Northumbrian water on the grounds of significant sulfur use. There is no evidence to support any of other options. So option C, which says water companies must comply with Environment Agency directives to maintain all year UV treatment, is the correct option. If the information in the passage is presumed to be true, which of the following must also be true? Option A, it is possible for surfers and bodyboarders to protect themselves from potential illness by avoiding stretches of water that have periodic UV treatment. Option B, the operational management of sewage systems by water companies can readily be influenced by the opinions of surfers and other frequent water users. Option C, while aware of the increased risk of illness connected with untreated sewage, surfers are not concerned about the disease they may be exposed to. Option D, the Environment Agency will not support the efforts of organizations to enforce year-round UV treatment, even if they have proof of significant sulfur use. So we have the same passages here to draw our answers. Option A is correct because the first paragraph indicates that there are a number of stretches of the UK coastline that have world-class conditions for surfers and bodyboarders. The final paragraph suggests that there are areas that have all year round UV treatment. which must make these areas safer for frequent water users, given the information in the second paragraph. If evidence from SAS has prevented Northumbrian water from being able to deactivate UV systems outside the traditional bathing season, it would be logical to assume that surfers can protect themselves from potential illness by using areas such as these. So here we have option A is the correct option, which says it is possible for surfers and bodyboarders to protect themselves from potential illness by avoiding stretches of water that have periodic UV treatment. Sunlight never reaches the bottom of the cavius crater. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. So here we have a different passage for these questions. You can use this cavius crater as your keywords or a sunlight to find your answer. So here we have correct option is option A, that is true, because the final sentence of paragraph 2 states that the crater is in permanent shadow. That's why we have option A is the right option. Further analysis of water from the Elsinore experiment will show where water on the moon has come from. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. Option C, which is can't tell, is correct because the article states that further analysis will provide information on the composition and distribution of water. But there is nothing to say if this will tell us where the water came from. So option C, which says can't tell, is the correct option for this statement. There is water in the crater cavius because it is at the north pole of the moon. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. So option B, which says false, is correct because cavius is at the south pole of the moon, which you can read from the paragraph 1. Here it is written that the cavius crater near the moon's south pole. So that's why we have correct option is B, which says it is false. There is no water in liquid form on the moon because it is too cold. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. Option C, which says can't tell, is correct because the article states that it is unclear in what form water exists on the moon. So here we have option C, can't tell, is the right option. Many indigenous Australians avoid attending hospital if they have a health problem because they would feel uneasy attending a place they were previously not allowed to enter. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. Correct response is C, that is can't tell. Option C is correct because the passage does not tell us. It is clear that some indigenous Australians do not complete the treatment, possibly because they feel uneasy doing so. But we don't know if it is true that many avoid going to the hospital in the first place. So we have the option C, which is can't tell, is the correct option. Based on Satin Vincent's experience of hospital establishing a connection with indigenous Australians and welcoming them into the hospital, the numbers of patients completing the treatment are likely to rise. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. So option A is true because from not allowing indigenous Australians to enter hospitals, Satin Vincent's now has an Aboriginal health unit, making it clear to them that they are welcome in the hospital, especially when they discover they know or are related to other people there. The more they feel welcome, the more likely they are to complete their treatment. Option A is true as we have discussed its reason. Now we have a different question but with the same passage that is given in the last one. So you guys can take a look at this one also. To find your answers from these passages. As citizens of Australia, St. Vincent expects everyone seeking treatment to queue up on a first come, first served basis whether or not they are Indigenous Australians. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. So we have the correct option is B, which is false. because Saturn Vincent has implemented an indigenous flexi clinic, which means that indigenous patients are now quickly triaged and treated. This implies that they do not have to experience lengthy periods of waiting. So option B, which is false, is the correct option. At St. Vincent's, awareness of values and expectations of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples is recognized as being important alongside medical knowledge to ensure treatments are completed and successful. Option A, true. Option B, false. Option C, can't tell. So we have the same passage given for this question as one in the last two questions. The option A is correct, which is true, because the end of the passage states that staff want to learn more about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures so they can provide culturally safe care to Indigenous Australians. So option A, which is true, is the correct option. So I think this is enough for today. We'll be back with another video, continue our next questions. Till then, just take care.